Alright, this is my, I'm going to do a KSP video on a mod that I've gotten going here. It's it's a planet pack. It's called the Kcalbeloh Planet Pack, and it's pretty cool. It'll put a wormhole in the Kerbal system, and depending on if you have Outer Planets mod installed, it'll either be around Jool or Sarnus, which is like the Saturn analog for the KSP system that they put in there with the Outer Planets mod, which I basically play with stock. I basically play with it as if that was a stock mod. It's pretty stock alike, so. But yeah, I have that installed, so it ends up putting the wormhole around Sarnus, which is the Saturn analog. So what I'm doing for this video is I'm doing a full stock mission to one of the planets in the Kcalbeloh system. And so you can see I have a little aircraft on strapped to the back of my interplanetary stage here. Yeah, so we're going to a planet called Suluco, I think. It's kind of like Lathe in that it has air breathing. You can use air breathing engines. So yeah, it has oxygen in its atmosphere or whatever. And yeah, you can do a full stock mission there and back. I've also done a full stock mission into like another moon of like of one of the gas giants in the planet pack, but I'll probably save that for another video. But Suluco is interesting because it's a lot bigger than Lathe, so it's like Kerbal sized, I think, and it orbits around a really small star. So it's in the habitable zone where the temperatures are such that it can have liquid water on the surface. But because the star is so small that it orbits around, it's within the distance to where the planet is tidally locked to its star, which means that one side perpetually faces the star, which produces a really interesting geography or whatever. You'll see it when we get there, I guess. But right now, I'm just looking to set up my Sarnus transfer window. It's outside of Jool's orbit, so I usually, it looks like I overshot there. I usually do just like maybe 15 degrees or 10 degrees more than 90 degrees, which is like essentially Jool's transfer angle. So you can see I got my angle set up there. And it's really far out, so this is going to be a big burn real quick. I mean, not quick, but you know. So I'm just plotting out a transfer to get my orbital height to match Sarnus's orbital path, and then I'm gonna make an inclination change at one of the ascension or descension nodes along the orbit, and then that'll allow us to get an intercept after we've already burned. So my interplanetary stage has looks like about 9,000 meters of delta V. I just tried to pack in as much as possible for this mission. So we can get a good look at our vehicle there. We have our little airplane, space plane, or whatever on the top of it, and it has two of the jet engines. They're not the Rapiers, they're just the regular air-breathing jet engines. I don't exactly remember which ones, and then in the middle, I've got an aerospike engine, and I'll use that in the upper part of the atmosphere when we're leaving the planet. But yeah, and then I've got a multi-stage nuclear thing going on, so we use the nuclear engines, which are really efficient, but have a kind of a low thrust to weight ratio, so these burns take a long time. But doing like a multi-stage nuclear transfer vehicle, you can pack in a lot of delta V. But you have to be kind of okay with littering, if that makes sense. Because when you drop off those tanks, they're just going to be floating in the void forever. Some people don't like to do it that way, but no one's ever going to find them. So it looks like now I'm just plotting out that inclination change, and it looks like we've got a pretty close encounter already. I'll just adjust that later on. Looks like we've got an encounter already. And so what we're going to be doing around Sarnus is a gravity assist, so that we can capture around the planet without having to use our fuel to slow down. And so you may have seen people do this sort of maneuver around Jool with Tylo, and you can do a very similar maneuver around Sarnus with one of its moons called Slate, which is what I just set as my target. It's kind of like a deserty moon, but it's pretty big. It has a really high, a really big gravity well, so you can use it to do some pretty cool gravity assists. So now I'm just working on that gravity assist, trying to get as close to the planet as possible for a flyby, so we can like maximize that gravity assist. And it looks like we got a pretty good one. It's the red orbital dotted line right there, so pretty good. And so gravity assists are kind of hard to wrap your head around at first, but essentially when you intercept the planet, you're going really, really slow in comparison to the rest of your orbit, so you need to pick up some speed at the apoapsis of your orbit so that you can catch up to the planet as it's going along. So the way I've done this gravity assist is I use this moon's gravity to like change my direction into the direction that the planet itself is moving, which is like Sarnus's orbital line. I try to like get like deflected into that direction, if that makes sense. But the best way to I'm not even sure if that's like the best way to do it, but like a good way to figure out how to do that stuff is just to play around with it. So we're pulling up here. You can see the gas giant in the distance. You can see I'll sling past that moon and it'll put me into an elliptical orbit around the planet. So there's the desert moon in the distance there. And we're gonna Looks like you can see another one of the moons over by the rings there. I think that's actually Elu. I think the Outer Planets mod switches Elu into one of the orbits around Sarnus, and then it has its own little Pluto analog that it puts in there in its place. So we're gonna do our flyby here. Looks good. And now what I'm doing is I'm gonna do some maneuvers so that I can reach the wormhole, which is that gray orbital line that I just set as my target. I don't actually know if wormholes orbit stuff in real life, or, well, obviously wormholes are like not super real life anyways, kind of theoretical. But like in theory, I don't know if a wormhole would actually orbit something, or does it just stay still? Because does it have mass? Would it orbit if it didn't have mass? I have no idea. So if anybody knows that, comment or whatever. But wormholes are weird like that. I've even heard that if anything tries to go through them, the wormhole will probably collapse, and you need some sort of like negative density material to keep it open or something like that. I have no idea. But basically what I'm doing right here is I just raised the other end of like the periapsis of my orbital line above that of Sarnus's, because when we're orbiting here, if you orbit close to Sarnus, it has a lot of gravity. I mean, not Sarnus, the slate moon that we just passed. Now I'm just setting up a maneuver to set up a wormhole flyby. Looks like we got it. Now I'm just adjusting it. The way the wormholes work in this mod, well, it's actually a separate mod. It's called like KSP like Singularity or something like that. But basically the way that the wormholes work is if you like go through it, or if you get under 30,000 meters or something like that, then you'll actually enter it. So it looks like we're coming close, just adjusting it so that we're actually going through it. And so the first time I pulled up on this wormhole, I actually circularized around it, which I actually don't recommend, because you don't actually need to circularize around a wormhole, because it's basically just a spherical hole in space, and you just kind of want to thread the needle a little bit. You want to go straight through. And there it is. Kinda trippy. It's like Interstellar, that movie. And it looks like I'm on the other side now. You can see a planet in the distance and a black hole at the center of this multi-star system that is the Kcalbeloh mod. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like Kcalbeloh. I don't even know. But this is the black hole that orbits the center, and we've got a few star systems, like smaller stars that orbit. This is the system that we're going to be going to. Not this one. This is just two gas giants that orbit it. I'm just showing it off a little bit. Let's see. We got like this really hot gas giant that's close to the sun there. This is the planet that we're currently orbiting. It's like a rocky planet with some rings. That's the one that the wormhole orbits on the other side of the whole wormhole thing. We're not going to this planet. We are actually gonna drop inwards towards the star. There's a planet that's closer in, and that's the one that we're going to. It's this one here called Suluco that I just set as my target. So this planet's called Sarah. It's I guess right here I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I was thinking maybe I could refuel around some of the asteroids. I actually brought like a little fuel like miner / refinery thing that's on the tip of my interplanetary stage, just in case like I ran out of fuel or something. But I actually don't end up using it for this mission. But you see all those asteroids in the rings there? That could be like a good refueling spot once you're on the other side of the wormhole. But now I'm just going to exit the planet's sphere of influence in a retrograde direction, which will drop my orbit around the star on the other side of the orbit once I'm out of the planet, of course. I mean, out of the planet's orbit. And you can see that black hole in the distance. It's got those Einstein rings. Just like in Interstellar. And also, I think, pretty sure we have a picture of a black hole in real life that looks like it has like Einstein rings, which is those bands of light that are being bent around the black hole. On a previous mission, I got really close to the black hole that I was just doing on my own, but it takes an insane amount of delta V to circularize around the black hole, just because of how low it is compared to these other stars, and like it's got high gravity. So I'm not sure you could do that mission stock, but you can definitely do some planets in this star system. I think this star system's kind of like in the middle. It orbits around the black hole. I think there's like another star system that's closer to the black hole that orbits it. This one's in the middle, and then there's another one that's further out. Yeah, but this one's in the middle, and this is the one that the wormhole pops you out of on the other side of it. So now I'm just setting up my maneuver to match my what am I doing actually? Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna match my inclination with our destination planet, which is called Suluco. Kind of an expensive inclination change there. 600 meters of delta V. And so this star is a lot smaller than Kerbal, which is the star in the usual KSP system. It's a lot smaller. But because it's so small and the planets are so close, the one that we're going to is tidally locked, which means it has one side that faces the sun at all times, which produces an interesting effect where the back of the planet, the back side of the planet, is covered in ice. And the side that faces the star is kind of burnt, barren, dried out. And then in like a ring around the planet, top to bottom on the sides, there's a ring of liquid water, as you can see here. I've heard that these are called eyeball planets, and I've heard that, let me maybe look this up, but I'm pretty sure that there's a planet in the closest star system to Earth, in the Proxima Centauri system, in real life, that they believe is in the habitable zone, so it could have liquid water, but it's also tidally locked to a really small star, kind of like this. I'm pretty sure Proxima Centauri is not that big of a star. But here we are on our approach, just doing a circularization burn. Yeah, okay. It says Proxima Centauri b is likely to be tidally locked to its host star, which means it has a 1-to-1 orbit where the same side of the planet would always face Proxima Centauri. So that's kind of interesting. Kind of like, I mean, I guess you could say this could almost be like the version of that in KSP, the real life, or the KSP version of that real life concept. It looks like it has a small moon, but that's not where we're going today. Alright, looks like we've circularized well enough. Get our first real good look at the planet. You can see that ring of liquid water that goes top to bottom. I've also heard that these parts of like eyeball planets are called like twilight rings or twilight zones, where because it's the same, like the sun stays in the same spot all day. The sun doesn't set, it doesn't rise, but it's kind of always low in the sky because of that angle. So that's why they call it like the twilight zone or something. You can see some of the ice. Looks like I'm gonna do a little spacewalk real quick. There's that black hole in the distance. Do a little EVA report. Getting some screenshots. Just gonna get into the space plane there. We're gonna get ready to detach and descend down to the surface. We're on the night side. It's gonna get a little bit hard to see here, but I'm lowering my periapsis on the other side. Then I'm gonna detach, burn away real quick. Then I'm gonna flip the mothership around like that, speed back up, raise my orbital line above the atmosphere again, but then I'll switch back to the plane, and that plane's orbital line is gonna fall into the atmosphere and we'll be able to land. That black hole there. I should be dropping down. I think I'm in the atmosphere already. Yep, looks like I'm starting to heat up. Nice little sunrise. We're passing over some of the icy parts, looks like. Now it's green in this little twilight zone, which is interesting. Just put on my little air brakes. Gonna drop by this little lake, see what's up. Pretty cool. Now, these parts are pretty rocky, like kind of mountainous, so it's kind of harder to find a really good landing spot. But I actually landed on this planet once before, and there's a really good spot by a lake, just a few kilometers from here. So after I'm done sightseeing in the lake canyon or whatever I'm in, I end up just taking a quick hop over to my previous landing site. Looks like it's almost 100 kilometers away. But we have the fuel for it, so. Here's the spot. So I end up encountering a little glitch, or like a Kraken attack or whatever the KSP guys call it. But essentially my landing gear don't have ground collision with the surface mesh. They kind of just drop through the first few inches of the surface, and then they don't act like wheels. They act like rigid bodies. I think I might have accidentally opened my wheels when I was in space, or opened my landing gear, and that might have caused the glitch. But yeah, it makes it essentially impossible to land on my landing gear because they're stiff and they don't roll. You see like a huge glitch. That shouldn't have happened at 46 meters per second. But I ended up reloading it. I think I tried again. Yeah, I'm like messing with it. Maybe we can get a better view of what's going on here. you see how they're just stiff? Weird. But I'll just land in the water, no problem. Touchdown. Let's plant a flag real quick. And let's get out of here. Yeah, you can see there the interesting thing about it is when my gear are in the process of rolling up, they actually act like wheels. But then once they're finally deployed, the wheels like drop down like a foot into the surface and then they're stiff and don't roll. Really weird. It didn't happen to me the last time I landed here. I think I must have accidentally like clipped it into something. When I was building it, or I have no idea what caused it, but here we are, just building up speed, gonna leave the planet, turn on my aerospike there, raising my orbital line above the atmosphere. We'll circularize once we got it above it. And then we're over the deserty part right now, kind of cool. Looks like I'm gonna have to fix my inclination. Gonna rendezvous with the mothership. So now I'm just switching because I'm actually out of fuel in the plane. So, in the space plane, I mean. But I'll get an encounter soon enough. There we go. Looks like we got a close approach. Next orbit, we'll be right by each other. Make sure to switch your nav ball to target when you're doing this. And then retrograde to the target. You can get rid of that relative motion. Now you gotta burn towards the target. That's how docking works. Or rendezvous. And then you just slow down once again. Burn towards it again. I'll just drift over slowly. Get a nice view of the planet. There's that little lake that we were in the bottom left just a second ago. I'm actually basically out of fuel in the plane, so I'm just gonna spacewalk over to the mothership. Nice. I'm just gonna litter that plane. It's just space litter at this point, but now we got to go back to that planet that we popped out of on the other side of the wormhole. So we're just going to exit in a prograde direction. Exit the orbit in a prograde direction, and that'll bump up our orbital line on the other side of the sun. Then we can intersect that orbital line right there. We're going to have to do another inclination change though. Escape burn. Looks like our orbits intersect close enough. Now I gotta set up the inclination change so that we can match the kind of like the angle plane of the orbits. Looks like we got them matched. I gotta work on getting an actual encounter. Looks like we might have to wait a few orbits, so. Such is space travel. You gotta wait for the optimal, like energy saving path, to conserve fuel. That's the whole thing with Hoffman transfers. If you had like infinite fuel, like in theory you could just burn straight at it, but then you'd have to spend an insane amount of fuel speeding up and then slowing down. So you take these like energy conserving arcs, but you'll have to end up waiting for a proper alignment. But that's how we do it in real life. So looks like we got our encounter. And I'm not even going to circularize. I'm just going to try to thread the needle again. Right through the wormhole. So I've got that wormhole orbit selected as my target, and which is the highlighted orbit right there. Oh, looks like it's pretty close already. So got a nice, we're going to fly right past it. Now I got to make sure that my periapsis is like below like 30 kilometers. So that's how like you actually drop into the wormhole in the game. So now I'm just messing around with my maneuver planner. Now I'm just getting rid of the empty tanks, also getting rid of that little fuel refinery on the top there, because I'm not going to end up needing any extra fuel this mission. Just burning towards the black hole. I mean, not the black hole, the wormhole. But yeah. Now, pulling up. On approach. There it is. Passing through again. Whoa. That was cool. And now I should be back in the Kerbal system. It's hard to select it from like light years out, so just got to go to the tracking station. Select it that way. Looks like exiting the wormhole, like threading the needle at that speed without circularizing, kicked my orbital line way above Urlum, which is that light blue orbital line, which is the outer planets mod analog of Uranus. So that is suboptimal, but no matter. It's just gonna add a few decades maybe onto our mission timeline. So I'm gonna match my inclination once again. I have set Kerbin as my target. That's home base. Looks like I've got my inclination matched. So now I'm just warping over to the apoapsis to lower my orbital line to match that of Kerbin. Looks like we got an accidental Jool encounter there. Then it looks like we got a close approach there. Gotta wait many years to orbit that high above the sun. Then we got my final stage. Being so far out, these adjustments are really sensitive. There we go. Got an encounter there. I think we're like an orbit or two out, actually, which is why these adjustments are so sensitive. I've got like my engine on like 1% power there. Still really hard to get it precise. So I just have to wait for a few more orbits. Yeah, it looks like my encounter is actually on the next orbit. Looks like we did actually like a little Jool flyby there, although we were nowhere close. Now I'm just adjusting my entrance into the Kerbin system. We're not going to try to circularize or anything. We're just going to detach the crew pod, the capsule, and I've got a heat shield on the end of that. So we're just going to hit the atmosphere real hard and slow down that way. We're going to be going at a really crazy speed coming from this high of an orbit. Now it looks like I entered on the night side, but I'm actually going to revert because that's no fun to look at. It's all dark and stuff. Yeah. I'm just going to go back, change it so that I can enter on the day side. Just make it a little bit nicer to watch. And we're going to be coming in really steep, really fast. So, but it's okay. The heat shields in this game are super, super powerful. And I don't think it's a good thing that Kerbols don't die from excessive G-forces. So, yeah, it looks like we're pulling over 15 Gs. Yikes. Heat shield held up. Getting ready to deploy the chutes there. Safe to deploy. Everything's good. Well, yeah, I mean, that means these Kerbols, they just completed an interstellar mission. Crazy enough. With the help of a wormhole. But yeah, that mod's pretty cool. I might make some more videos doing like a stock missions. Yeah.